In most Disney parks and resorts hotel rooms, there's a little Alexa device that you can say, "Hey Disney," and it'll bring up any kind of request that you would give it, like asking it what time the theme park's open or what time your favorite show is. Now, those theme park devices are connected to the internet, and when they're asked questions with a little "Hey Disney," you can ask them all kinds of things about Walt Disney, and Disney might not have been expecting their answers about whether Walt Disney was anti-Semitic. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter, and here with me is innocent bystander, Mr. Culture Casino. Culture, you don't know what we're talking about today, but I want to ask you, what's the danger of having an Alexa in your hotel room?
Well, I mean, it basically is a little spy device that's always there to listen to everything that you have to say, including what you might be interested in doing or what you might not be interested in doing, or that somebody might order something and have it delivered to your house while you're gone.
That's a very good point. It's like a little wiretap in your house. They're waiting to hear all of the things that you might want. Now, you would think that a lot of that liability only goes one way, but there at the Walt Disney Company, they find a way to make it a liability for them as well. We're going to go over to my Twitter account, but I'm going to say this video originally appeared on an account called Van. And if you go to my Twitter account, it will provide the link back there. This is an Alexa that has mouse ears on it and a little bow tie. And if you ask it a "Hey Disney" question, it'll answer it. And if it doesn't have the answer to that question, it'll go to the internet to answer it. So let's see what it says to a very, old question about Walt Disney.
Hey Disney, was Walt Disney anti-Semitic?
I'll get Alexa for that.
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, yes, Walt Disney was anti-Semitic and
Okay, so a couple of things I'm going to say in Disney's defense real quick. Disney was not the one who wrote that answer. But Culture, do you think if Walt were alive today, he would be happy about these devices in any of those, regardless of this answer?
No, I think he would be freaking out just like I am. Yeah, and I think that his response would be to be wildly offended and probably on the phone to whoever that knucklehead is that took over for Jeff Bezos. But that's bad form in a whole lot of ways. But I think he'd be more concerned that his guests would be having these kinds of questions or these types of devices in the rooms to ask these kinds of questions or any questions that were certainly outside of his intention for his theme parks.
Right. It's often been said you can't even buy gum in a Disney theme park because they have that much control over what goes on in their theme parks. They want you on a phone so that they can control where you go during the day. They want to know exactly where you are. And some people have said, well, it wasn't written by Disney, so this is not a problem because it's obviously just having an internet search in your room. Well, I'm going to point out this is a little device, yet again, with mouse ears that they're encouraging you to interact with so that they can learn more about you and your spending habits and your buying habits there at the Disney park. And I think this is the kind of question that Disney needed to put a little bit more forethought into whether or not it would be asked in this way. What if a little kid was in there? And of course, the next question is, what does that mean? But this is a vicious lie that has often been stated about Walt Disney. It's patently false. Yes. Probably something to do with the people who were trying to come after him during Animators Guild negotiations way back in the day here. And I think it's false in every single sense of the word. I'm sure the Sherman brothers would be quick to respond and defend Disney on this particular charge here. But instead of a Disney company that, first of all, they're actively participating in the defaming of the founder of the company. Don't think they have a problem with that, really. They don't have enough control over their show that they allow something like this into every single hotel room in their massive, probably Walt Disney World resort. Culture, why do they stink at their jobs? I'm sorry, it's a loaded way to ask this question, but
it is. But I mean, your question isn't wrong. Look, I can't explain it. They're driven by everything but a thoughtful process. They're driven by politics. They're driven by this story matters entity. They're driven by an HR department that's out to remove all but one manner of thought or process in the company. But they're not they're not thoughtful about what they do and how they go about doing things. First of all, these devices should never have been in the rooms.
Never.
Second of all, placing these items in the room should never have allowed for it to go outside of their carefully controlled environment. Because if anything, Disney, prior to the exit of Zunia Muncho, had a very well controlled message and would not have allowed for certain circumstances to have occurred over the course of the last 2 to 3 years since she's been absent. I think that they don't think about what the consequences are for any action that they do. And that's why I keep saying they lack a thoughtful process when making decisions. And this is a terrible decision.
I totally agree with you. And they've often said, Bob Iger even said in his book, that they didn't want to buy Twitter because they looked at the kind of language that was being used on Twitter, and they didn't want Disney to be a part of those headlines. Now, either Bob was being disingenuous when he said that, which he might have been. Maybe he got a view of the bot counts on Twitter and knew before Elon Musk did just how many bots are on that platform, or Disney's philosophy on what they're willing to be associated with dramatically changed about that 15-year mark for Bob Iger. Why are they okay with something like this? I don't know. There's also the fact that if something like this happened and if something like this made it into the press, that Disney would be very quick to respond and very quick to change it. Now, I am going to say that I've had other people test this out on Alexa devices and ask this particular question, and you don't get the same answer every single time. Again, because these are crowdsourced, semi-anonymous answers that are being given by Alexa here. I think this is also why Apple doesn't answer these questions on device. Like, they'll tell you, you can go to your phone for web search results on this, passing the buck a little bit more onto whatever, like they're making it clear that Safari is answering that question, Google is answering that question. But in this case, you literally have the device. Now they do say, well, we're going to Alexa to answer this question as opposed to, hey, Disney. But the question being asked is still on the subject of Disney himself. I don't get it. I don't understand why they've given up and why they want to be a second-rate company. Third rate compared to the original Walt Disney theme park company here. What would it take for this to change here, Culture? Is there someone within the company that could take over and they could get back to the gold standard instead of just the premium price?
I think what they need is thoughtful leaders in all positions across the entire company. It would take a wholesale shift in leadership from the executives probably down to maybe even park leads. It's you've had this company infested with things that are not going to give you what you ask for, which is the gold tier standard. It won't be up to snuff until they have people and processes back in place that eliminate these kinds of errors and lack of forethought. At the CEO level, you could certainly start to deal with it, but you're going to have to, even the board at this point is suspect. So I think you're looking at just wholesale change across the board. Maybe the company gets back to a unified vision, but that would take an ownership rather than a company that's public. They would really have to take it private again. And I don't see that happening in the near future.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And of course, we'll be talking about the CEO succession process on another video on this channel. There's only one candidate for CEO right now that I think could actually pull that off, but he would still have institutional shareholders pulling the strings there. So I don't think that that singular vision, I don't think that's going to happen again unless you get to somebody like a Michael Eisner who is willing to be unpopular and do big moves to, quote unquote, fix the company. With that being said, I want to throw this to our commenters. Why do you think Disney has allowed devices like this in their rooms? Do you think they anticipated something like this? And if they did, why would they ignore it? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like this video if you like this video. By the way, go check out That Gameplays, where we're covering all kinds of interesting topics, including Dustborn, Concord, Black Myth, Wukong, and more over there on That Gameplays. And of course, consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media account.